So I'm actually going to come in here and create several accents. You may be wondering why. Just the vision I'm having for this product is going to involve, things like cards and maybe like category cards. And I don't want to, be tied to just using whites and grays to do that, because then, your whole product can be pretty bland. I think with the right amount of color, we can, make these types of products pop a little bit, make it a little more fun. So I'm going to go in and just provide some accent colors just in case we do really need them. So let's jump in. So I'm going to just start with like blue. I'm going to keep everything the same in terms of saturation and the darkness and brightness. And I'm going to come in and I'm just going to change the color a bit. So, we can stop there. We can get them a little bit more, in that gray area. Here we can, do the same. I'm going to make it a little bit more saturated, just in case we need another color there. This exercise is just really going to help you, work towards being better at just choosing colors and making variations of those colors. So there's one. Let's do the same for another color. Let's choose like green. Okay. So we're just going to do the same type of thing. We're just going to come in. I'm not a big fan of like lime green, so I like to, I'll just darken this one just a smidge. And with this version, I'm going to like bring it in a bit, just like that, until I'm, really happy. I think we can even lighten this up a bit. There we go. I think this can use a little bit more lightening. Green's pretty hard to work with. Okay, let's create another one. So I'm going to find a nice red. Maybe we can find some dual purpose in this as well. We, have a red that we're going to use for both like accent stuff and also for things like air states and whatnot. So red's another one that I think you have to be a little careful with in terms of how you use it, because it can become, pretty overwhelming pretty quickly. So the way I'm thinking about utilizing some of these colors is that I'm just going to essentially like put them on cards, maybe as a background or something like that. I think there's, there's some interesting stuff that we can do there. And then we have purple. So this one and this one, I'm going to just, make that color change right there. Like I just, the only reason I'm coming in here and I'm, making a saturated, darker version of that color, it's not necessarily because I want to make like a rainbow theme or anything. This just gives us like a lot of flexibility, like I said, with like other UI elements as well. Like if we want to use pills in the future, basically like little signifiers, if we have like staff picks or something like that, or deals, like how are they going to show up? Are they going to show up like in a very light green? And is there like category differences or something like that? So I'm giving us some options here so we can, play with them when we do need them. And also we have a couple of like confirmation screens I'm thinking through the app based off of our user flows. So there's a couple things like, oh, maybe there's a confetti pop, and it'd be nice to have a bunch of different colors in the confetti pop. But now if we take a look at this, I'm just going to just move this over here. But if we take a look, they're all basically, around the same tone. And the great thing about this is like, I'm thinking about my brand while I'm building this. And I know the tone of our product and its brand is, more uplifting, and it's a little exciting. It's very friendly. I'm not too scared to jump in with a lot of colors here, but I'm not going to necessarily make these colors like I'm not going to throw them everywhere. I may use them in like certain areas where you have like a background. Maybe we do use them in the more muted way where we have black text or typography laying over some of these middle options. So in a way, it's kind of very subtle, but it adds a little bit of just dynamic color palette to the whole mix instead of just using grays and having a really like conformative look that is strict and almost kind of sterile that we've kind of grown accustomed to. So I think there's some interesting things we can do with color here, and I would actually urge you to maybe explore a bit with some other colors and don't just stick to like the pure monochromatic scheme that's really easy to default to, even though it works really well. I mean, if you really want to do that, you can go ahead, but I would definitely urge you to just step out of your comfort zone a little bit and bring in a color. If you're using like say blue, why not bring in a little bit of a teal to complement that a bit? Or if you're using something like a purple, you could be using like some yellow that works really well with purple, or even some blue. So I mean, there are some neighboring colors. There's colors on the other side of the whole color spectrum that could really help contrast and just make your color palette seem much more dynamic. So that is how we create a color palette for a product.